Folks, thanks for joining us today. And today I'm featuring a different sort of guest. His name's Michael Patterson. He's an executive health professional whose career has spanned over 27 years in many areas: cannabis, CBD, hemp investing, operations, laws, regulation. He's very much known as an SME in the global cannabis industry, and he's spoken at numerous conferences all around the world. He's executive and president board member of MGMC Pharma Group, which is a private company licensed in 5 African countries to cultivate, process, and distribute medical cannabis, THC, and CBD products internationally. If that didn't keep him busy, he's also chair and CEO of the 2020 World CBD Awards and holds several editorial board and scientific advisory board memberships, and writes for Orlando Medical News Magazine, Florida MD Magazine, Harvest, and Plume. Thanks for joining us today, Michael.
Well, thanks for having me. So happy to be on from America.
Awesome. Well, the first question I had was cannabis. I mean, the legalized kind. It's not on most people's radar. So what have been the biggest changes, do you think, in the cannabis and hemp industry for the past decade?
Well, it's amazing because the past decade around the world, cannabis and hemp have become legalized in many countries. Currently, we're in Australia. We know it's legal for medical cannabis. CBD is starting to come on, but it's not on shelves yet, which should happen probably closer to the end of the year there in Australia. But what we really noticed is the ideology has changed. And I'm sure you're seeing it in Australia, to where it's not where, you know, the kids are sitting there smoking a doobie now. It's more of used as a medicine, and usually using it for a specific dosing, specific ailments, cancer, Crohn's disease, all these different things, cancer treatments, pain, chronic pain. Here in the United States, it's extremely common. We have 37 states now that are medically approved, and we've got 19 that are recreational cannabis approved. And I live in the state, Florida, which it's the largest medical cannabis market in the world. We have over 600,000 medical patients. Average age is 52 years old. So this is not a young person's medicine.
Yeah.
This is something that's catching on with older generations as well. And we see that globally.
Wow, that's eye-opening. And I had no idea that Florida was the biggest. Well, okay, so medical marijuana is getting more and more common. But what intrigued me was your expertise in marijuana banking. So how is that disrupting the financial services sector?
Well, it's a great question. We do have an office in Melbourne, Australia, and it's been a challenge dealing with anything related to cannabis and with banks. But here in the United States, it's pseudo legal. There's a clause from it's called the FinCEN, the Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network, which is under the Department of Justice, which states the state of you can work with cannabis related businesses as long as you follow certain guidelines, meaning they don't have any guns, you have some sort of seed to sale or computer tracking program. And then the federal government here has said that they will do hands off of any businesses dealing with state-run cannabis companies as long as they follow state law. So it's kind of a loophole here. And what we're finding is other countries around the world is that if they legalize fully, for example, Germany, South Africa, Lesotho, Australia, technically you can use all the banking services. But what I've learned in this process is the American banks and the American banking system have a lot of pull around the world. We even saw a situation in Uruguay where this is 100% legal, and pharmacies were able to sell it. But those pharmacies who used a bank called Bank of America, based in the United States, the Bank of America people said they would not service their companies anymore if they sold cannabis, even though it's legal in Uruguay. So we are seeing more banking, but it's still a challenge. And so here we have a bill in front of the United States government to be able to legalize banking for cannabis, but not legalize cannabis. How silly is that? So we're hoping that will come to fruition by the end of the year.
Okay, that's a big change. And look, when people think about investing in something, they think high growth tech stocks, they think cryptocurrency, they think blue chip shares. But the cannabis industry has a growing reputation as a sound investment vehicle. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It does. And so what we've seen is, as legalization increases, we've had a dramatic increase in investment. The challenge with the average investor really doesn't understand the cannabis market because it keeps changing. So what I would recommend for people who are interested in investing, I would stay with the publicly traded markets in America as well as in Australia. Those publicly traded companies can provide as much information as you need. If you're looking to invest in a private-based company, you really need to understand the market and also where they're going to sell their product. For example, if you're investing in Australia in a startup, there's only 27 million people in Australia, somewhere around 35 million, not as many. So you're going to have to look to sell in other countries. So you need to make sure that that company is being set up for international trade. Yeah. So you can't just sit there and have all your eggs in one basket. So a lot of times, as I tell people, if you're investing in cannabis, is do your homework, start small, don't do too much that you're willing to lose, and start learning the business before you start putting a ton of money into the industry.
So sound advice for investing, just full stop. If you don't understand it, then don't put your money in it.
Right.
Yeah.
I always tell people, if you're going to invest, don't look for the money. Meaning, if you can't stand losing the money you're putting in cannabis, then don't invest it. Now, there are a lot of people that I know have made a ton of money in cannabis, and it can be done, but it has to be done under the proper conditions.